Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the Beyond Bitcoin show. Today is December the 28th, 2019. My grandmother turned 97 years old today. Yeah. Long-term thinking, unconfiscatable. She's got a strong hand and she's got some conviction. Hey, we're going to talk about personal responsibility being the new counterculture. We're going to talk about it all tonight. In motion, baby. The Bitcoin Rabbi is here. He's in motion. We're going to talk about Hanukkah because not only was it my grandmother's 97th birthday tonight's the 7th night of Hanukkah. So I'm happy as anything. And it's always great to have the Bitcoin Rabbi here. We're going to talk a little Judaism. We're going to talk some Hanukkah, Bitcoin predictions, all sorts. So if you got questions, type in Bitcoin Meister in the chat. We can see them. Spread the word. Tweet it out. Follow me on Twitter at TechBalt, pound that like button. Bitcoin Rabbi, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Really glad to be here. It is the 7th night of Hanukkah, and so I figured, I already lit my menorah earlier with my kids. It's almost midnight by me. I'm sure you already lit, but I figured why not for the audience, spread the light, spread the miracle. So I've got my menorah here, and I figure we'll start off, we'll light the menorah, and then we'll get into it. So how's that sound for you? Oh, all right. You're ready. You're ready to go.
I'm ready.
Okay. So like I said, since I already did it, I'm gonna adjust. There are two blessings that we say, but I'll give them a little adjustment. Since we've already done it one time. So just bear with me here. Bear with my voice since it's almost midnight. I'm a little not quite up to it, but we'll try. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu melech haolam she'asa nisim l'aveiseinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. All right, so we've got our 7 candles here, because it's the 7th night, and tomorrow night is the 8th night of Hanukkah. So that is we're getting up there. So pretty exciting stuff.
Oh yeah,
these are the real deal. I don't know about you, Adam, but we use the real olive oil.
I use the Chabad candles that are given to me. I've never done the olive oil. I mean, that's just like in the temple you're doing there, man. This is
it. This is the pure olive oil, just like in the temple. These things will last a couple hours. Hopefully,
the funny thing is, Jewish people, if they listen to what you said, they can tell you just did a little. It's a demonstration, is what you're doing. Basically.
Yeah. It was a little bit of an adjustment
on the prayer
because since I already said it once, we don't want to repeat it exactly the same way. Since I already did it and you already did it, but we want to have the spirit of the candle lighting and really, I mean, some people think that if they go to a Hanukkah party, they think like, oh, I went to a Hanukkah party, they lit candles there. But actually, every family and every household is supposed to light it themselves and have it there. So this is, just to spread the idea, spread the light, and we'll be talking about it. So really fits in with the theme here. So that's it. Happy Hanukkah. Yeah, get right into it.
Pound that like button, people. You never know what you're going to get here. I think I lit the candles. Yeah, I lit the candles on my show I showed the lit candles. I've lit them in the past. What is the connection between Bitcoin and Hanukkah?
So first I'll just give like a kind of a brief overview of the history of Hanukkah. So we're going back about let's say 2,300 years. So like 300 years before we say BCE is before the Common Era. Other people say BC, before the time, the calendar that we use. Now it's 2019, so 300 years before that started. And basically the Jewish people were an independent state of Israel. They had their own government and their own society. And this was actually after Alexander the Great. He conquered the whole the whole world, basically, like the whole Middle East and Africa, and he took over the place. So when we talk about, we say the Greeks were fighting against the Jews and trying to take over Israel, it wasn't actually like Greeks from Greece, but it was actually Hellenized, Greek influenced Syrians, or Assyria is the predecessor to modern day Syria. And so they were the empire that ruled over the Middle East during that time. And they basically took over Israel, what was that time Israel, and the central focus of Israel during the entire kingdom was the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, the Beit HaMikdash. And there was sacrifices, and there was prayer, and there was a menorah, a candle that was lit every single day. And so the Greeks took over that whole thing and sent all of the Jews out. They actually convinced a lot of Jews to kind of like secularize, and they sent the righteous, religious Jews into hiding, basically. So there was one group called the Maccabees that said, enough is enough. We are not going to take this. We're not going to sit down. And they started a rebellion. And they were like a really, really small faction of people, even amongst the Jews. Most of the Jews just were lying down and taking it. But this small group stood up and said no, and they started a rebellion, and they started fighting, and they fought this huge army, which was tens of thousands of soldiers, a real army. And they were just basically guerrilla fighters. They were not trained, they were not an army, they were rabbis, basically. And they, through miracles, beat out this Assyrian army and kicked them out of Jerusalem, took back the city. And then when they got to the temple, the place was a disaster. It was all ruined, and everything had been everything had to be pure. It all had to be holy there. You couldn't just, use whatever you wanted. So oil to light the candles, you couldn't just, there was no store or anything. The oil had to be this purely refined oil, and it had to be done in a specific way. And they needed, every day you had enough oil for that one day. So they only had enough oil for one day. They lit the candles, the candelabra, the menorah, and it was only supposed to last that one day. But lo and behold, it was a miracle. It actually stayed. The oil was still there, and it burned. It was going to take them 8 days to procure more oil. So they had to for that 8 days, while they were waiting to get the new oil, the one little jug of oil that they had, which they miraculously found, lasted that time. So that's the story. What does this have to do with Bitcoin? I think that it's kind of obvious. I mean, there was an oppressive government that came in and told these people, you have to walk like us, you've got to talk like us, you've got to dress like us, you've got to act like us, you can't live the way you want to live. And most people just took it. Most people, it says in the miracle of Hanukkah, it said, me'atim biad, rabim biad me'atim, that the many were the enemies, and they were given over into the hands of the few. The strong were given over into the hands of the weak. These people were not, originally the strong. They were not the mighty soldiers, but they became strong, and they, took miracles, and they, went and fought this war. And so, the comparison with Bitcoin, I think, is uncanny, that this was people willing to stand up for their self-sovereignty, for their right to live how they wanted to live. They were the few, they were the 20%ers, and they said, we're not going to take it. And then listen to this. This was great. This, do you know many Rosenfeld? Rosenfeld?
Yes, of course.
Is that his name?
Course. Yeah, I know him personally.
I never met him, but we were Twitter friends. And he sent me that you can think of the main thing, the story that everybody knows is the war. There was this big war and this big battle, and it was a miracle that these small group of Jews that were untrained, they fought over, and that was great. That would have been enough for a celebration on its own. And then the oil and the candles was like this extra thing. So it's like we got Bitcoin, but it was only 4 transactions and it could only do 1 megabyte per block and this. And then we found the Lightning Network, and then with that it could last for enough transactions to last 8 billion people in the whole world. So we thought this was one miracle, just enough, and then it could actually even scale even greater than what we ever imagined. So that's my Hanukkah Bitcoin connection. It's about standing up for yourself, about being brave and being strong, and saying I'm what's right is right, and I nobody can be the boss of me and tell me that I can't live the right way.
And it's also it shows that in life, most people just go along. They just go with the flow. Most of the Jews, they were like, yeah, this Hellenized stuff is great. The Greek culture is great. Why are you causing this trouble, Judah Maccabee? Why are you doing this, man? We're living it up. These Greek dudes brought us some culture. But the few, they were like, no, we're not taking it. We are who we are. We are who we are, and we're fighting back. And they're saying we can't be, because that was the thing. The Syrian Greeks said you can't be Jewish anymore. You can't circumcise. You can't do this. You can't do that. And they wanted their freedom, just as today we want our monetary freedom. And now it's not as back then. It was like death. If you didn't go with the Assyrian Greeks, you could be killed, and it was horrible. But the comparison is there, and I do like the 20%ers. And it's most people don't think. They just go with the flow, whatever the easy way is. Bitcoin is not the easy way. You can be in the fiat world and live a pretty good life, actually. You can be quite comfortable in the fiat world and live that life. And it also shows that through history, unfortunately, even today, most Jewish people, they also are secularized. They don't really care about Judaism very much at all, which is that's just that's the way it is in the modern world. Well, let's move on. There's another comparison. We call it orange coin good. But you know what's funny? Hanukkah Gelt, as a kid, whenever I get the Hanukkah Gelt, which was just chocolate candy wrapped in gold tinfoil, it made me think that Hanukkah Gelt must be gold here. So what is Hanukkah Gelt, and why do they give money on Hanukkah? Because again, money is intertwined in the holiday a little bit, coincidentally. So it is comparable to Bitcoin.
Yeah, so actually that's kind of a modern invention. What people think of Hanukkah Geld are these chocolate coins.
Yeah.
And that is like I don't know, modern, like the past 100 years or so. But really this is like an ancient tradition. And people also think that Hanukkah is a time for giving gifts. No. The real reason that they connect that is because of the time relationship to the more common, in America, the holiday around the same time where people give gifts. But Hanukkah is really about giving. You give money. That was the tradition. This has been for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. So Hanukkah Gelt is actually the Yiddish word for money, and I actually have Gelt. It's Yiddish, and it's even Yiddish, and it's also German, very similar. And so I have my book. My book, which we talked about before, and I'll mention, is called Bitcoin Money. And so if you translate that into German, it's Bitcoin Geld. It's the same. So Geld just means money in Yiddish, which is like a traditional European Jewish language. So there are a few reasons given for why is it that we give money on Hanukkah. So one of them is that Hanukkah is actually the word Hanukkah means dedication or introduction, because Hanukkah is when they went to the temple and they found the temple in Jerusalem and the place was a wreck, the place was a mess, and they had to rededicate it, reintroduce it, get it started again. So it's called the Chanukah HaMizbeach, the rededication. And that same word of dedication is the same word that we use for education, for like a child's, like, K through 12 or whatever. Like that's the same word. And in Jewish history, the way we actually found is that, adults are supposed to have a low time preference. They're supposed to be long-term thinking, but children, we know that they need immediate, a gratification. So we actually encourage rewarding children. And so when a child learns something new, they should get like a treat. They should get a present, something like that. So you give them like a coin or something like that. So it's about rewarding the children for their studies. That's part of it. Also, that the Hanukkah candles is kind of it was an extra expense. It was an extra thing that people had to buy. So part of it was about giving charity and helping out the people who were in need at this time. People who, because it says that even if a person is a pauper and they have no money, they should beg to get money to be able to buy Hanukkah candles. It's that the mitzvah is that important. It's such a important celebration that they should even go asking for others. So you should have money ready to give out to other people. And also, interestingly enough, the candles are like a holy object. It's not candles. We don't use candles, but we've got lights in our house. But in the old days, candles were useful. Like you light candles because you want to use candles. You want to light up your house. So we wanted to say these candles, like, they're not just candles you light up for lighting up your house. They're actually like holy. You kind of put them on the side. Some people put them in a window. They will like show them off, but you don't want to use it for your day-to-day mundane things. So it says, the example that's in the Talmud that says you don't use those candles like for your own personal benefit. You don't like sit by the candles and like count out your money. So you give a kid a coin and you say like, okay, remember that's not what these candles are for. So these are a bunch of different reasons given for why we give money or gelt. And in modern days, because like I said, the connection to other holidays, gifts, some people give gifts, money can equate to gifts or, things like that. People do. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's all about being happy and celebrating. So some people do gifts. Sometimes they do both. Sometimes they do chocolate money and they do dollars. And sometimes if you're like me, you give your kids Bitcoin. So, that's I'm very strong into giving Bitcoin. And I actually, I don't know if you know about that. Have you ever heard of this new company that I'm actually connected with called Give Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think I had. Yes, I had. By the way, he's linked to below. Bitcoin Rabbi is linked to below on Twitter. I'll link to Give Bitcoin. I gotta look that up too. But you'll tell me after the show. We'll put some more links in there too.
Yeah, GiveBitcoin.io, and it's this company that I'm an advisor on, and it's how you can give Bitcoin to your friends and relatives and stuff just by like sending them an email, and then it's. Because I love to give Bitcoin to people. Do you like give Bitcoin to friends or family?
Oh, I gave one for one of my friends, a very good friend, for when his son was born for his bris, and that was back in 2015. So that kid's he's on the way. 0.1 Bitcoin. 0.1.
But what happened to it? Does he still have it?
Oh yeah, he's got it. He's got it.
He's got it. Did you put it on like a Trezor or something?
I had to hook him up a little bit with a blockchain.info address back in the day, and
that was back in the day.
and that's where he still got it there. But at least he's got it. It was more complicated back then. It was much more complicated.
Right. So that's the thing. And what I would do is I would like print out a piece of paper with a thing and like hope they don't lose it, or maybe I would keep a thing. But with Give Bitcoin, you go on the website, you send it to them, and not only gives them the Bitcoin, but it like sends them a whole lesson plan for how to learn how to take care of the Bitcoin. So I think that's a great way. I'm giving people Bitcoin for Hanukkah. Nowadays that's what I give for every gift. One of my friends' kids get married, I give them Bitcoin. Somebody has one of my students has a bar mitzvah, I give them Bitcoin. So that's gifting people Bitcoin is pretty much the way that I go. Beside whether it's Hanukkah or whether it's anything else.
Dude, Lightning Network will help a lot with future Hanukkah Gelt. Like Hanukkah 2028, everyone will be Lightning Network giving out Hanukkah Gelt that way.
Yeah, I mean I'm going to talk about that a little bit in the predictions section. But Lightning, I don't know how much you've been doing with the act, but I've been like very hands-on with Lightning this whole year. I've been trying out a lot of the wallets and stuff. So
yeah, yesterday's This Week in Bitcoin show, everyone should watch it. that the first 20 minutes are all about lightning. I don't talk too much about it, but I had some lightning guys on yesterday. Check it out, people. Link to below. This Week in Bitcoin. Pound that like button. Now, I actually have. We're talking about. There was something specific with the giving people Bitcoin. I mean, yeah, you just talked about giving people Bitcoin right there. Bitcoin tzedaka, Bitcoin charity. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I made a website. And really, it's not like, it's just a proof of concept. I've been using BTC Pay Server, which is great. It's like an alternative to BitPay, and it's an alternative to all of these like payment processors where you run it yourself and you accept Bitcoin and Lightning payments. And so I just, I'm one of those people that I like to buy domain names and then just like figure out what to do with it. So I figured, like, I'm the Bitcoin Rabbi. So I bought BitcoinTzedaka.com, and I just set up like it's just, little thing. You can donate like 1 penny or 10 cents or something like that, because I'm sure you're aware of this. You go to synagogue and there's, these pushkas, these little charity boxes around. And when they go for prayer service, lots of people go and they put a penny or dime or a quarter in or something like that. And they do it on a regular basis. And that's part of the prayer service actually is that before you start praying, you put charity in. And I'm sure lots of people, different faiths, have this concept that when they go to their prayer places, houses of worship, they give charity as part of it. But I don't carry cash around. I never carry cash. And I don't even carry these like coins and stuff people have. So I had this problem because I want to give charity on a regular basis. And I just couldn't do it physically. And I couldn't, even on your phone, if you want to like go to a website and donate it with your credit card or something like that, it's like you got to give $5 and then there's like a 50 cents fee or something. So I just figured, I'll collect money for this soup kitchen or a food pantry that's near me, and I'll collect it all up. And then at the end of the month, so whatever, we make like $20 a month or something on like little Lightning Network 10-cent payments. But it's cool, you can do something like that. That's a thing that Lightning solves. Like, people say Bitcoin, oh, go buy coffee. You can buy coffee a million different ways. You don't need Bitcoin to buy your coffee. But this is actually a thing that I couldn't do without Bitcoin and without Lightning. So it's actually something that Lightning Network solves that couldn't be done before. So I think that's cool. I think that's nice.
Yeah, you're right. When I'm at shul, like in Beth the Filla in Baltimore, I picture the dudes, and I give something also. Like I find change when I'm running, so like I'll have the change that I found. But these older guys, they're all in their 70s. They got dollar bills, but they're all in their 70s. They still carry around cash and everything like that. You see a lot of those. So times are changing. I would say, speaking of throwing around some money here, Robert Hardebeck, my buddy out in Southern Cal, sent $10. Excellent content, he says. Well, thank you, Robert. And you also asked if I missed the Orthodox community around La Brea in right south of West Hollywood in Los Angeles. And I do miss those guys. I like their little shul, and I will be back there starting February 12th until April the 6th. Which is right before Passover. I'm going back to Baltimore for Passover. I've been in Los Angeles with those Orthodox Jews, living among them. It's beautiful there on La Brea. It's all sorts of people. It isn't just Orthodox Jews. But I do miss them. That's a good question. And people, you can ask questions by typing in Bitcoin Meister. Has McCook says, or doing a super chat like Robert did. And Has McCook says, Happy Hanukkah to you and the Rabbi, and a happy birthday to Granny. Well, thank you very much. And it's pretty amazing to be 97 years old. I mean, to talk to someone who's 97 years, it's great. She's great. And what did you else you said here? Okay, Has McCook is also watching cricket right now because it's Sunday afternoon in frickin' Sydney, Australia. Because I mean, we've got
Has McCook. Shout out to Friar Has. You're great, and I love your stuff, man.
Yeah, I also miss Sydney, Australia. That's a great time. Australia is awesome. That's part of my whole thing now. I think every year I go to Israel, definitely, but every year I go to Australia also, and I think I'm going to keep that in my rotation. And probably every year I go to Los Angeles too. I love all those places. They're warm, so that's part of my thing. All right, now that we're talking about countries a little bit, I got an interesting question here. You mentioned the word Gelt. and Gelt, you said it's German and it's Yiddish. But Yiddish really is Old German. It's the Jews of old.
It's a combination. It's a combination of a lot of things. A lot of German. A lot of German.
It's the base. That you add. There are other words, or there are other languages mixed in there. But the Jews of the time that came up with this language, they were near Germany. That was the center of that spread.
Well, I mean, they were like, my family were in like Russia, Ukraine, Moscow. Really, it was all over the Europe.
It's close,
all over Europe. Yeah,
it's close. It's close. But there was it was a common language that the Jews of all of Europe could speak, and it served quite a purpose. It served a purpose because they were all in different countries. There were different languages, and it was a way of if you were in Lithuania, you could talk to a guy, and if you ever encountered a guy from the Ukraine, I guess you could talk to him. Now, things have changed since those days a lot, and the Jews are back in the land of Israel, and they speak Hebrew there. Do you think there really is? I go to New York City, and if you go to Williamsburg and you see Satmar, all they speak is Yiddish. Is there really a point in like continuing the Yiddish language, like other than just like for historical purposes so you can read historical documents? I see very little point in it anymore, like teaching it to the kids to speak it like fluently. It's kind of a language of its time has passed, I felt. What do you think about that?
So, this is very tough and controversial question. I mean, the Hebrew that is spoken nowadays is really like a made-up Hebrew. Meaning Hebrew wasn't spoken as a language. It was not. It was it was like 2,000 years ago, more than 2,000 years ago. For a long time, Jews were speaking Aramaic actually, and then they were speaking. So that's the thing. Yiddish is what the Jews have been speaking for the past 1,000 years, and then and particularly the religious Jews and the Orthodox and the rabbis and all of that spoke in Yiddish in Europe. Like I said, in different Jewish communities in like Arabic countries spoke Arabic, and in Spanish countries they spoke Ladino, and there are different versions of that. And there are other Jewish languages that and dialects that were in different areas, and even Yiddish has different dialects depending which part of Europe you were in, like Russian Yiddish versus Polish Yiddish and all of that. So there is kind of like a feeling that like the Hebrew that's spoken in modern Israel today is somewhat of a foreign language to these communities, the Satmar community, and the, Yiddish is what we've spoken. So like you guys made up a language, and it is, we write with that language and we use those words, and we even there's different pronunciation. It gets complicated because you can pronounce Hebrew in Ashkenazi way, which is the European way, or the Sephardic way, which is like the Arabic and Israeli way. And it sounds very different how you say different words, like Shabbos and Shabbat. That's the difference between those. So I appreciate people that want to speak Yiddish and want to keep that, because it's we Jews we're not gonna, the way we've been strong and the way we've done it is that we don't just change just because something popped up 50 or 100 years ago. We've been doing something for 1,000 or more years. There's something to that. There's something special to that. Actually, you just reminded me, and I have this up here. I found this, and I wanted to share it, this quote. And especially tonight, I don't know if you heard, but there's been a lot of anti-Semitic attacks, and there was one tonight in a rabbi's house in Muncie. Somebody ran in just now, an hour ago. Somebody ran in and with a machete and stabbed a lot of people. And Jewish people at a Hanukkah party. It's been the whole Hanukkah. I don't know if you people shouldn't be following the news, and but I can't avoid these kind of things. A lot of terrible stuff has been on the rise recently of like anti-Semitic attacks in New York, particularly. And so like keeping on to the things that have kept us strong, like I can always value that. So I want to just read to you this quote, and this is actually from Mark Twain. Mark Twain, a famous author, wrote this in 1899. Maybe
I know this quote. I love this quote. I think I know it.
And he said,
read it.
He said, the Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise. They are gone. Other peoples have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out and they sit in the twilight now or have vanished. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? And so, Hanukkah, that's what Hanukkah is about. And that is why I say that, Yiddish, don't push it aside, because it's stayed with us through all of those difficulties of the darkness of Europe in the Dark Ages and even to this day. So I mean, you don't have to learn it, you don't have to teach it to your kids, but it definitely has a strong place and a warm place in the hearts of a lot of Jews, and I think it's gonna keep on in some capacity. Is it going to be the thing that we all continue speaking? Is it going to grow in its modern use? I don't know, but it's still a powerful force.
All right, we're going to go back to Yiddish in a second, but there is a language question for you, because I have a few more thoughts on that. But first of all, that Mark Twain quote, pound that like button. I used to have that printed out on my refrigerator when I lived in Baltimore. So all my friends at all my wild parties would see it and everything, just to know who I was, nice, no matter what. All right, Just Learn Bitcoin says, first of all, happy Hanukkah. Does the rabbi plan to release his children's book in other languages? And I believe.
Ooh. Okay, so let me get to this. All right, so far the book, here's the book called Bitcoin Money, A Tale of Bitville Discovering Good Money. It is a children's book. I mean, it's really good for all ages. My father says it's the best thing for him to learn Bitcoin. A lot of adults like it. And we've translated it into German, Spanish, French, Italian, Japanese, and Finnish. That's what it's been that is available in all of those languages so far right now on my website, thebitcoinrabbi.com, on Amazon, all of those languages. That's what we've done so far in this year, in the past 8 months or so. But I have more stuff ready. The problem is that it costs money to every time you want to publish it, and it costs money to edit the design and to put it out there. And so I can't, if somebody wants to put it in Bulgarian, if 5 people are going, somebody wrote no offense to Bulgarians, but somebody wrote a translation to Bulgarian, but if only 5 people are going to buy it in Bulgarian, and it's going to cost $500 or more to, I don't know, whatever much it costs to print, it's not reasonable to do that. So I have waiting ready to print. Just I need help. I need distributors stuff. We've got Danish, Russian, Norwegian, Hindi, Dutch, Turkish, Bulgarian, Portuguese, Arabic, Chinese, Indonesian, Vietnamese, Korean, Gujarati, Ukrainian, Czech, Estonian, and Swedish. Because it's a short book, it's only 1,000 words. All of those languages are ready to print. We just need somebody who's I can sell 100 of those books, and then we could print it.
There we go. In motion, people. For the people who speak Portuguese out there, because I know there are some watching this, get in contact with it. Become the distributor. Make some money off this thing.
We actually have both. We have 2. We have Brazilian Portuguese and we have Portugal Portuguese. We've got both translations ready to go. I just I don't know anybody that can distribute the books in those countries. So
Korea,
that's all we need.
Korean is great too. I can't believe. So if someone who knows Korean here, you got an opportunity. In motion, baby. I'm bringing you jobs on this show. I'm bringing you all sorts of stuff. So contact him. All sorts of links are going to be down there right now. You can just send him a DM on Twitter, but there'll be more.
Yeah, my DMs are open. Send me any questions. If you need spiritual advice, from a Bitcoin rabbi in both your rabbinic needs or your Bitcoin needs, whether you're Jewish or not. I'm open. My DMs are open. I'm happy to answer and help in any way I can.
Okay.
Lots of people. That's what I love about Twitter, and I love about the Bitcoin community is I have talked to so many people who are both Jews and not Jewish people who have just like asked me for advice or wanted to learn something or all this kind of stuff. I actually started a weekly Torah learning class with a guy that I met, a Bitcoiner, a Jewish fellow, and I just love like making these connections and meeting people and helping in any way I can as the Bitcoin Rabbi. That's my job.
Okay, now I want to go back to the language thing real quick, just to give my opinion on the situation. Because you said it is a controversial subject, and it is controversial. Well, first of all, the Hebrew in Israel is different. First of all, Hebrew, guys, it's in the Torah. The Torah is in Hebrew, no doubt about that. So there weren't certain words back then. So it's, when you're speaking Hebrew in Israel, there are all these new words that are added in and stuff, and there's different pronunciations, et cetera, et cetera. But for the people are saying, I think in the chat, someone said Hebrew was lost. No, it's the Torah has always been in Hebrew. It's generation to generation. That is Hebrew right there. But
it just wasn't spoken. It was written and also said and chanted, but it wasn't the dialect that was it was even said out loud, but it wasn't the conversational dialect. It was the language of study and learning and of the Bible, but it wasn't how people spoke to each other. So like us right now, we're speaking English, but if we were to learn a Jewish subject in Torah study, we would learn it in Hebrew and we would speak out loud those words in Hebrew, but we don't talk to each other. We talk to each other in the vernacular. So it's been that way for about over 2,000 years.
Yes. So, I mean, the question came about, there are religious Jews that thought it should only be used in a religious context forever and ever. But, when Israel was reestablished, thank God, they had to, what language shall we use? I mean, Yiddish was an option. English was an option. So they went with the Hebrew option. Now, the issue with Yiddish that I had is that it is the language of the exile. It's a language of a time that was not that great. And it is German. It is really, the base is German. And what happened in the early 20th century with Germany, it's a little weird now that, Israel exists. The Jews were almost destroyed, but of course they were not, because they will never be destroyed. And yet there's still some people, and the Jews were spread all over the world and to Israel. They were cleared out of Europe, basically. But there's still some Jews in Brooklyn, especially that are speaking on the street. They're not speaking English, even though they live in Brooklyn. They're speaking German. They're speaking Yiddish, and it's just, to me, it's like I can understand. Maybe they have strong opinions about what they speak in Israel. Satmar has very strong opinions of Israel. Period. But no, I don't. I think Yiddish should be taught as a historical language. I think its time has passed, because either you're Jewish and you're living in, like the United States, why speak Yiddish? Just speak English when you're studying Torah. And if you're living in Israel, why speak Yiddish? Their language is Hebrew now. Now, I know there's historical traditions, but it seems like we've entered a new stage. That's my whole take on it. But I do want to say to everyone to know that Hebrew is Hebrew. It's what's in the Torah. That is obvious. And you write Yiddish with Hebrew letters. So you know what Hebrew letters look like. And well, I knew what Hebrew letters look like. And I'm running around Williamsburg and I see these weird combinations of it. I try to sound it out. I'm like, this isn't Hebrew. What? Like, you see two alepphs in a row or something? Like, what the heck is this? But so yeah. Anyway, that's my take on it. But everyone's got a different thing, a different opinion of the whole thing, and it's you got two Jews, you got 5 different opinions, right? Isn't that?
There you go. That's right. That's right.
Isn't it something like that? All right. So we talked about language, and now we're going to move on to let's see if we got any other questions here. And that is awesome that the book is Oh, someone said with the book, what about ebook? Couldn't it easily be translated and formatted? Well, first, I mean, the cool thing about this book, it's, you know, it's got the graphics and stuff. I mean, and it's for kids, so it's really cool to.
Oh,
I mean,
okay, so the whole book. So I mean, I never made it as like a Kindle because the whole point is like, you know, it's a colorful book. It's like for kids. It's not really something that goes good as an ebook. It's not something you're gonna like read on a Kindle. It's a thing you give as a gift. That's like the whole point of it. You buy this as a gift and you give it to a kid, or you really what you give it to you give it to your nephew, and then you tell your nephew to read it. You tell your sister to read it with the nephew so that your sister learns about Bitcoin. That's really the trick. That's the whole point of it, is that it is, you know, something for a parent and a kid to read together. So it's something really needs to be tangible. But I made the whole book into a free animated audiobook. So if you don't want to buy the book, one, if you really want to read it on digital, I'll send it to you. You can read it on digital. It's fine. I didn't make it an ebook because, like I said, I don't think it's really that's the right format for it. But I made a whole for free on YouTube and on my Twitter. The entire book read from start to finish. It's 15 minutes long. I narrated myself and I animated it, and you can read and watch the entire book. So if you want the whole book, you can read it. You can read the whole book. You can you know, get a digital copy. You can watch it. You can read it in 10 or 15 different languages, any way possible. But the best thing to do is to buy it as a gift and give it to your niece or nephew, or, you know, cousin or brother or something like that, and help them, you know, learn about Bitcoin.
Yeah, old school style. I like sometimes that works the best. The old school book style. Pound that like button. All right, let's get back to. What do rabbis and religious Jewish people think about Bitcoin? I've gotten some opinions lately, but what
I bet you have. I've heard about that. I think we probably have the similar. We're still early. That's my experience. I've been doing this for about a year, doing the Bitcoin Rabbi, and like trying to talk around. I've given my presentation, I think, 4 times, not as many as I would have hoped. You know, I thought this year was going to be a bull run. We'd be already at new all-time highs. There'd be FOMO, and I'd be like asked to speak at you know, different Jewish groups all around. But things didn't get as hyped yet. You know, I'm going to have to wait until after the halving and, you know, 2020 stuff for that. But so it's, people are still, you know, still kind of skeptical. They just, you know, they're not skeptical as much. Like they're not, you hear from younger people, they're not as afraid of the technology part of it, but they still just like don't, you know. So Jewish people, I think, are, and younger, Jewish people are not that different than even very Orthodox. Even you see people that look like they're not, you know, interested in technology and stuff. They know, you know, they distance themselves from things like social media and all various types of media, movies and television and the radio and stuff like that. But they still know technology, and that's not, you know, scary to them. They'll still have, you know, in their car GPS, and, you know, and use at the hospitals whatever kind of technology and all kinds of stuff, and out of Israel all different kinds of technology. So it's not that, but like the world is still it's still fresh, and people are now they're familiar with it. Everybody I talk to now has heard of it, and they you know, and even when it comes to like digital money stuff, like everybody's got like digital money. You go to any store, they've got the highest, newest, freshest credit card processors and digital things like that. Lots of people have smartphones, but Bitcoin is, I mean, you can say it's a good sign that we're still very early, but the like fear and like hatred of technology it's not there anymore, and I think that we're progressing in that like, especially with young people, they just take it as a given. Like, yeah, technology, yeah, okay, a digital currency, that makes sense. Like, it could happen. You know, they're not like opposed to it.
Yeah. Well, the thing I've run into, and I think it makes sense with Chabad rabbis of a certain age. It's all
about the age. It's all about what age you are. The cutoff, like over 50, No way. Not going to get it.
Well,
No
they've
way.
got
Not
questions. The Chabad, the rabbis, they are all very familiar with the stories of the Rebbe and his family, and many other rabbis throughout the generations who were stifled and imprisoned by the communist Russians or by the Tsarist Russians, and just the government just really cracking down on Judaism. So their first question is, well, can't the government stop this? How will the government stop Bitcoin? That's their first. And I think they might get that from those experiences, just knowing that, you know, governments can be very powerful and can do very bad things. And I say, no, the United States government, no government can stop this. But that is a Chabad rabbi who's older. That's what he asked me. He said, how's the government going to stop this? How can't they stop this? And but younger people, indeed, they want technology. Younger people have cell phones, and so yeah. It's definitely a generational thing. But there's been, I mean, in the Orthodox Jewish community, has there been any big statements on Bitcoin at all?
I mean, this year, a great article was written just about a month ago. Well, so I wrote an article that was published in it was like a lighter article. I'll share with you. It's called 8 Lessons from the Blockchain. It was an article, you know, for Hanukkah, for the 8 days of Hanukkah. So what I write, like 8 connections between, it's kind of rehashed things that I've made, connections I've made before between Bitcoin and Judaism, like about proof of work and about the consensus and about, you know, the, let's see, you know, holding your own keys, various things, and I connect them to like Jewish concepts of various types. So I wrote that. That was just published and sent out in a Jewish magazine called Soulwise. But I read a really great article that was on Aish.com. Are you familiar with Aish? Aish is also a Jewish organization. So on Aish.com, an article about Bitcoin, but no, like there hasn't been any like big rabbinic leader, you know, saying anything. I mean, I wouldn't suspect, you know, a grand rabbi to like say anything about Bitcoin. It kind of is. It's still under the radar, and you know, I think that it's still pretty as heated as everything is. When you're like in the heat of things, it seems like it's so big, and but for people that are out of it, like it's not really, you know, like it's fine. Bitcoin is fine. I mean, I'm Bitcoin is everyday part of my life. Like that's what I'm reading about and listening to, and like I follow the technology and I follow like the updates and everything. But they're still just kind of, you know, it's going on there. Like that people ask me, they're like, is that still a thing? It's still going on. You know, when the price is flat, they're like, what's going on? You know, we haven't hit new all-time highs yet, so it's not on everybody's radar yet. It's still kind of in the back of people's minds.
Yes. I've also been asked by people like, oh, I thought it got hacked. I thought it was gone. Just once it gets bigger, and it will, again, long-term thinking people, there'll be all sorts of religious authorities giving opinions on it in all sorts of religions, I'm sure. Now,
well, I'm hoping that's what I'm kind of like, I'm kind of setting, I want to be part of those conversations. Like I want to be in those conversations. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that, you know, when that day happens, that because they need to come, you know, rabbis aren't always necessarily technological experts, and I'm no cryptographer myself, but I, you know, spent the past 2.5 years, you know, fully immersed in this technology, and I look at it every single day. I'm, you know, looking at what the new, you know, developments and pull requests and soft forks people are working on. And so I think I've got a good understanding. So I think that rabbis do need that, just like with any kind of new technology, they actually need a real understanding of what's going on. So I hope to be, you know, part of those conversations as they happen.
It's important to note that, you know, everyone thinks of a rabbi as a religious authority, but some of them, many of them, they have they specialize just like doctors specialize. There's certain rabbis that are experts in kashrut, in determining if something's kosher. I mean, you could be you could specialize in anything, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are different degrees, different layers. There are rabbis that they can speak, and they can speak for 1 million people. You know, they can speak for an entire country. They can speak for they can speak almost for the entire world. And other rabbis are, if you're a pulpit rabbi, what you say, maybe half your congregation listens to you, maybe half of them don't. I'm not a pulpit rabbi. I'm trained as a rabbi. I give classes. I'm a teacher. I'm, in a day school. I teach elementary and middle school and high school students. So, hopefully some of them listen to me sometimes, and I go around, I talk about Bitcoin and technology in general. But so there are different levels of authority and knowledge. But yeah, rabbis, grand rabbis who do speak on behalf of whole communities have to consult with, when they're speaking about medical topics, they consult with doctors. And when they're speaking about other legal topics, they consult with legal experts. And so the same is true for technology.
Yes. You're positioning yourself well. I'm saying that long-term thinking there. All right, I want to get your halachic opinion on something.
Okay, all right.
All right, it's about a historical figure. If he was Jewish, and did he ever stop being Jewish? So here we go. Karl Marx. Because there's all these people out there that love to, anyway, they love to bring up Karl Marx and say he's Jewish and et cetera. And now, so I want your opinion on this. Karl Marx's mother was Jewish. There's no doubt about that. His mother was Jewish. His father was Jewish. His father's name was Herschel, but he changed his name. He converted from Judaism to to join an evangelical church. That's it. That's Karl Marx's father. He could be converted. Then Karl Marx, as a child, was baptized as a Lutheran. He was baptized as a Lutheran. So, and then, Karl Marx went on to write this he developed this godless philosophy, and he did not like Jewish people. But when he was baptized, Karl Marx was baptized, he was a youth. So he didn't really choose to be baptized. So in the history of Judaism, there have been many forced baptisms, and people say, well, that person, if you were baptized as a child, you're still Jewish because you didn't choose to be baptized. You didn't decide to exit the Jewish religion. So did Karl Marx, did he die a Jewish person, but just not a very good Jewish person?
No, there's absolutely it doesn't matter if you're a child or an adult or you chose it or not. There's no such concept of losing your Jewish identity according to Judaism. A Jewish person who is either born of a Jewish mother or who converts according to Jewish law is Jewish for their entire life, regardless of what they do. So meaning they can worship foreign gods, they can become any religion they choose to be. That doesn't change according to Jewish law, that they are still Jewish. So it doesn't matter what he did in his life, or anybody for that matter. It's a binary thing, and somebody either is Jewish or isn't. And if I'm not an expert in his history, but if his mother was a Jewish person and he was born that way, then he is Jewish and was always Jewish. It makes no difference what he worshipped or how he lived his life.
Now, so if a Jewish person, so this is a good clarity. If a Jewish person today says, I'm converting to Catholicism, they're still under halacha, they're still Jewish. They don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not about their religious practice. It's not about their religious belief. It's just an identity. I mean, you could say that about, lots of different identities. I mean, now we're in the day and age of self-identification, but, people say that, but it's similar. Just like if a person says, if a person is, that's just their identity. That's how they were born. They can't take it away from themselves any more than they can take away various other identities, which I won't go into that whole subject. But you can't take away your identity, even if you act or believe a different thing.
Oh, wow. So as much as Karl Marx and his father tried not to be Jewish, they were Jewish. Okay.
But anybody can become Jewish. It's not like an ethnic thing. I mean, anyone in the world that wants to can become Jewish. There's no restrictions whatsoever.
It's hard. It's not an easy process. It's not.
It's if you want to do it, it's hard. If it's stuff you don't want to do. If it's stuff that you want to do, then it's not hard. If you want to follow the rules of the Torah, then and if that's enjoyable for you, then it's not so hard. It's rigorous, I guess you could say. It's intensive to go through the conversion process according to Jewish law. But anybody in the world could do it, so it's not exclusive like that anybody is excluded from it.
Yeah, very, very good reminder there. That is very true. The two ways you could become Jewish, or the two ways you're Jewish: you're born of a Jewish mother, or you can convert and do it the proper conversion way. Which again, people see kind of like famous Jewish people on TV or whatever. And then they'll think, well, that looks pretty easy. Well, that's not that's not the way you become Jewish, by like emulating some secular Jewish person. You got to actually follow the Jewish laws if you want to. That's why I'm saying it's hard, because most Jewish people don't really follow they assimilate and everything. Like it's not just like.
Yeah, but I have to say, Adam, I have to tell you this. I mean, you've been this entire year going above and beyond even what was comfortable for you and what you were maybe accustomed to because of your year of mourning. And I have to say, it was really inspiring to see that and to hear you talk about it. And I'm really, I'm sorry for the loss of your father, but I have to say that what you've done with your prayer and your Kaddish for your father, it meant a lot to me to see that and to hear you talk about it. So, in your father's merit, and in your family's merit, that's really something special. So, Kol HaKavod to you for doing that, and for doing what might have been hard, and to go to synagogue all those days and do that. It was touching outside of just for you and your family.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot to me that you said that, and my father would be so darn proud right now that a rabbi said that to the whole world about him and me and everything. That was just beautiful. It really, pound that like button, people. That meant a lot. So yeah, this obviously the year, we all encounter challenges during the year and everything like that. And I want to see, you've been in Bitcoin now for, it's been over a year now, but you became prominent. I remember you started up the Twitter account, and I thought it was a scam at first, because it disappeared for a second because Twitter didn't trust you. When you make a new Twitter account, they become paranoid and stuff. But what has this year been like? Thoughts on the past year for you here? Your first full year. 19.
I started, it was just over, I started in like October, I think, whatever. So it's been like 14 months, but the first full year, it's been a wild ride. It started out with, I think I did probably 15 podcasts, something like that. Yours, we did before Passover. That was so much fun. I did the Bitcoin Haggadah. I went to a couple different conferences. So I went to what was it called? Magical Crypto Conference in New York City. That was so much fun. I went to the Bitcoin New York NYC Bitcoiners meetup, which is not a conference, but just like a meetup. And they actually made that. Maybe I told you this last time, that Pierre Richard runs that, and they made it at a kosher restaurant for me, and they switched the day so it wasn't on Shabbat. That was incredible. And a lot of these conferences I really wish I could go to, but they're on Shabbat. Most conferences are on, Saturday, Sunday. So like if I have to travel, it's very difficult to do that. But I went to Crypto Springs, which was in Palm Springs in, I think, August or September or something. I went to that. That was run by Malcolm Demirs and Stacy Herbert and Stark and Elizabeth Stark. And I spoke there. I blew the shofar there. I don't know. Did you see that video? I brought a shofar because it was right before Rosh Hashanah, so I brought a shofar with me. I'll send you that video. That was fantastic. So I spoke there about, what does it mean to be a Bitcoin rabbi, and like how do I reach out to people? And I brought a shofar, and I was like, you guys want to hear the shofar? this because the shofar, is there are 2 times we blow the shofar. One, we blow it on Rosh Hashanah, but actually, I don't know if you know this, but it says in the Torah, we don't do it nowadays, but in the times of ancient Israel, they would do it once every 50 years. It was called the Jubilee, and it was like the freedom. It says proclaim freedom throughout the land, and everyone goes back to their farm, and everybody's like free, and all the slaves are freed. So I was like, let's blow this horn for economic freedom, and it was fantastic. So I did that. I went to New York. I met who else did I meet? I spoke with Marty Bent. You ever meet Marty?
He's been on the show before.
So I went to New York City. I met him. I met Pomp. Pomp was like a bursting fire of energy. That was like so much fun. He was great. I just was like, I had nothing to talk with him about. I gave him a copy of my book, and like I had nothing, like he works in the financial business. Like I'm a rabbi. I'm not really selling anything to him. He's not selling anything to me. But I was like, dude, I gotta meet you. I just wanna like. He's got, he's such an energetic person, and I had a blast talking to him. Really, really great guy. I really enjoyed that. I met Pierre Richard a couple of times. We went out to dinner and met. So it was just it's fun. It's been a great year. I met a lot more Bitcoiners than I expected to. I thought I would kind of be online, make a few tweets, do a few things, and I ended up meeting hundreds of Bitcoiners. From New York to California to all these different things. It was a blast. Like I didn't know when I started this that I would be welcomed with such joy and warmness into a community. Yeah, I didn't realize that that's what was going to happen, and that is what happened. And so, as much as people badmouth the Bitcoin community and talk about toxic and negativity and stuff, I just thought it was like. I really liked it. I really like being here. I like sharing with people. So that's my take on 2019 and my experience with the Bitcoin community.
Well, I want to say that's the thing. You've got a really positive outlook. So you're in motion in a positive way, and just like that, you're everybody's friend, and you're meeting people. That's the attitude you got to have. That's what I admire. You're trying to build something here. You're not complaining. You're not picking on, blaming other people for your problems. You're just going out there with that positive attitude. This is what works, people. He shows this is what works. Take a positive attitude, create, don't destroy. There you go. That's what I like. Well, what is there anything, you talked a lot about the book being translated. Anything else new with the book? Because that's your big claim to fame, of course, the book. I'm like in the Tel Aviv Bitcoin embassy, there are like 5 copies there. Wherever I go, the copies laying around. But what anything new with the book and predictions for this coming 2020 and the decade of the 20s?
Yeah, so I'll say that the book we've sold, which totally blew me away, we sold over 5,000 copies. It might be over 6,000 copies, but for sure at least 5,000 copies, which is incredible. Include with with the different languages. We're hoping to do more languages. Like I said, I want more of these languages. I want them to come out. That we got, we did a bunch in a row. We did like one after another, and then we kind of got stopped by like that we needed. We did like all the major languages, and then distribution was the issue. So that's one thing. Other people have suggested kind of revamping it to do like a older version, maybe like a comic book version that like teens, because like if you give it to like you can give this to like ages like 10 and under, maybe something like that. You've seen it. You've said your mother's a teacher, you read the book, but like maybe if you want to give it something to a 16-year-old, so maybe we could take the same idea and like make it a little bit more mature and make it in a format. So that's an idea. I don't want to like force it. People have asked me, what's going to be version 2. So I don't know, but like I don't know about making a different book, but I have thought about that. That sounded like the most reasonable thing, of like the same idea but in different age brackets, different formats, but still like kind of the basic intro to Bitcoin. So those are the two, the 2 updates, the things that I'm looking forward to. Hope that they happen. I don't have anything set yet, but if we move forward, and what I would like to see in this coming year is more languages and then maybe like an updated version.
All right. So predictions for 2020 and 20s.
I think I think it's going to be a big year. From technology, there are, and I just listen to, I try and listen to as many podcasts as I can. I listen to Stefan Livera, I listen to Peter McCormack. Those are where you get like a lot of technical stuff. I really like Marty Ben and Matt Odell. For Rabbit Hole Recap and Tales from the Crypt. I love the guys on Noted, and a few others that I've been on. What Bitcoin of Bitcoin Citizen and Coin Icarus, a bunch of podcasts that have on technical people. And so I've been hearing about there are a lot of technical stuff like that are working on like actually getting into Bitcoin. Schnorr. And all these things that I don't even really full Taproot and Graph-root and all these things that are supposed to make privacy better and payments cheaper and all kinds of things. So those are cool stuff that's happening. But I think Lightning is, as much as people are saying it's not growing as much as it. I use Lightning a lot. I use all the different wallets. I test them out. I use it a lot. I make way more payments on Lightning than ever on chain. I love Lightning payments. I think Lightning payments are superior to Bitcoin payments by far. There are many aspects of it superior. The privacy is how you make a Bitcoin payment, a Bitcoin transaction, and you're afraid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I've had that feeling. Yeah.
every time, not sometimes. Every time you make a Bitcoin transaction, you're afraid. With a Lightning transaction, you're not afraid for a couple reasons. Because it's an invoice. So you can't get it wrong. There's no such thing as a Lightning payment to the wrong place or the wrong amount. There's no such thing as like a lost Lightning payment. Because it's really peer-to-peer. It's like your account to their account. So it's much more direct. And there are a lot of other things. That's just like one example. But I really like Lightning. And I think that there's going to be a lot more direct onboarding to Lightning. People just getting Lightning directly. You open up a wallet and you get Lightning. You get Bitcoins that are on Lightning, and they're just so much easier to use than on-chain transactions. There's none of this waiting and none of this figuring how much fee do I want to do, and you guess, and then you look at the mempool, and all this stuff gets. So I'm very excited for the more developments that are happening. Lightning, I think that it's going to get simpler and simpler, and so that's I think there's going to be some cool developments in the Bitcoin core. I think there's going to be a lot more user-friendly Lightning and onboarding onto Lightning. Listen, I'd love to see all-time highs in 2020. I don't know. I don't know these things, but I don't think it's that far off. I think things are looking pretty good. I think it could happen. I think we could have I think we could break 20K in 2020. Why not? So that's it's not my official prediction, but why not?
Yeah, your first halving. This is going to be your first halving. So
this is my first halving. That's right.
All right.
I wasn't around. I came in middle 2017. So
I got to say, I like your Lightning network. You made it real simple for people to understand. That was a good selling point. They should say, people are scared when they send their Bitcoin. Did it really go through? You're saying with Lightning Network, you don't have that fear that you just lost all your money.
There are a lot of things. And I saw that, I think, from Alex Bosworth. He works for Lightning Labs and he's working on this. He wrote a whole thing up, a whole tweet or a couple tweets or something explaining all the benefits of a Lightning transaction over an on-chain transaction that really makes you feel more comfortable. It's like a credit card transaction. They tell you how much to pay, and it's an invoice, and then you pay the invoice, and there's there's nothing to get lost in between there. There's an invoice, you pay the invoice. But a Bitcoin transaction, you check you have to check, you double check the number, make sure, is it 3N capital J, whatever. There's none of that in Lightning. You don't have that. It doesn't happen. So there's none of all that fear is taken away.
Well, dude, that's an awesome way to conclude the show there. I like that. It has been quite a show with the Bitcoin Rabbi today. Do you have any conclusionary thoughts before we sign off? It is late back on the East Coast. It's 12:46, man. You've given me a late night here, dude.
Time it is.
Great.
Liz, I really love I love what you're doing. I'm so glad that you had me back on the show. I'm glad that we got to spread the message of Hanukkah, and it's a joyous time. There is darkness in the world, but my Rebbe and the UPVOTE Rebbe says that we defeat darkness with light, and so you just got to be a light for yourself and to the people around you, and try and spread good messages and good behavior and be a shining example. So I hope these Hanukkah candles are part of that. And we've got one more day left. Tomorrow night is going to be the 8th day, the grand finale. So hopefully it should be really a grand finale of light. We should have good news for everybody who's celebrating the new year. It should be a really great new year of really good things for you. I wish you all blessings, God's blessings for everybody, everyone in the Bitcoin world and throughout. So thank you, Adam.
Well, thank you. Be the light, everyone. Be in motion. Be that light that's in motion. Thank you very much, Bitcoin Rabbi, for being here tonight. Everybody, remember, new show here every day. Saturday is the Beyond Bitcoin show. We went really beyond today, but then we went back to Bitcoin too. So it was a very special. It's great that the last Beyond Bitcoin of the year was very special there. Okay, I'm Adam Meister, Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, check out the links below. Pound that like button. We'll be adding some more Bitcoin Rabbi links after the show. He's going to send me some more. Right now, just click on his Twitter and you can see him. Everybody, and check him out. Pound that like button. See you guys tomorrow. New show every day. Bye-bye. Happy Hanukkah. And that is...